welcome to my channel. My name is Adora. So guys, I just had a baby and my baby is still very young. He's still newborn. In fact, he's not even up to 2 weeks yet, and I have been very weak. I would have made this video right from the very first few days after the baby came, but honestly, I didn't even expect that I will have the strength to do it at this point, because I have been very weak. Like, the whole pregnancy thing has not really, even though I have given birth, even though I've had the baby, but I'm still feeling the whole, the whole discomfort of being pregnant. Like, it hasn't left my system yet, so it's still telling on me, like it's still weighing me down kind of. I'm still very weak. I'm tired. I have not rested enough since I had my baby. So that's why I kept pushing this video. But I just felt like, you know what, just do it once and for all and get over it. So, like I said, I just had a baby. And this is one of the most stressful pregnancies I have ever had. This is not my first child. This is actually my third child. I had 2 children before this. And the first 2 pregnancies, honestly, they were nothing really close to what I experienced this last, pregnancy. This particular pregnancy really opened my eyes to know that every pregnancy is different. Honestly, even if you give birth to 10 children, your experience with all 10 pregnancies will definitely not be the same. This particular one also made me to understand that age matters a lot when it comes to childbearing, when it comes to having a baby, when it comes to being pregnant. Because I had my first 2 children when I was much younger. So this one now, having my 3rd baby in my early 40s, there was a significant difference that I was able to lay my hands on, judging from my past experiences and then this one. Now, it all started back in January of this year, January 2024, when I missed my period. And then I was very excited, very excited, because last year, November, I had a miscarriage, and that's really kind of it upset me. I felt really bad about it, but I was like, anyways, if that is the will of God, let it be. And as if God knew that, I have to compensate this girl for her loss. He didn't take time at all before I was able to take in again, and that happened in January. So in January, I missed my period. I was excited. I went for a test. It confirmed, I was okay. Before I actually went for the test, I already did the home test. And when I did the home test, I was like, I'm not too sure if it's, because sometimes, when you do this home pregnancy urine test, the second line sometimes may be very faint, and that will make you doubt if you're really pregnant. So when I did the test, the second line was very faint, and I was like, it might be a false positive. So I waited the next morning and I did it again, and it was still faint. And I was like, am I sure? Anyway, let me not raise my hopes too high. It's better not to get too excited. Let me just leave it and wait for a while. Maybe after a week I will try it again. But I sat down one morning and I was like, I haven't seen my period. I just realized I had not seen my period as at that time, and I was already far past the my period date, my menstrual period date. So I started trying to calculate, and I was like, I think something has really happened though. So I did the test again, and this time the second line was a bit thicker, and that just gave me hope that, okay, yes, it has happened. So excitement over, we got into the real deal of this pregnancy. Now, along the line, after I got pregnant, after the first few months, I made my pregnancy known to my GP and the health centers and everything, and I was given a midwife to attend to me. So my first antenatal, When I went to see my midwife, she asked me the necessary questions, when last did you see a period and all that, and she calculated it, and there and then she even gave me an EDD, expected delivery date. But there was one thing she said. She said, because of your age, we will have to treat you with serious care, and like we will be very, very extra, like give me extra attention, extra care, and just to be sure that I am not high risk. So they will have to like perform series of tests on me at some point in the pregnancy, just to ascertain that I am not high risk, or my pregnancy is not going to be affected in one way or the other. And I was like, what has my age got to do with all this? But she was trying to explain to me that when you're much younger, you have the opportunity to really scale through a lot of pregnancy hurdles. That there's some things that it could happen to other people that would not really happen to you because you're younger, and it's easier to hold on to pregnancy than when you're a little bit advanced in age. So when she mentioned that thing, age thing, I was like, oh my God, I just hope I'm not going to regret this pregnancy. I just hope I have not put myself at risk, so I just kept quiet. So after a while in the pregnancy, after a few months, one of the tests she prescribed, or rather advised that I do, was a particular test. Okay, no, what happened was that, on one of my scan appointments, I had to go and do a scan. I think that particular scan was to check, how far along I have gone in the pregnancy, just to check things. And so when I went for this scan, they checked me and confirmed, okay, fine, all was well. And then they even printed the picture, the scan picture of the baby. The photos then very, very small. So at that time, I was just in my very, very early stage of the pregnancy. And when I got up from the chair, I was about leaving. I remember the sonographer, that's the person who does the scan. I remember her say something like, oh, I think you will have to wait behind and then do a test. Something like that, a blood test. And I said to her, I'm not aware of the blood test. She said, oh, it's part of this scan, it's part of the procedure. Then I just felt like something is wrong, because I did not remember being told about the blood test, honestly. I only knew I was going for a scan. But when she mentioned the blood test, something in me just said, something is wrong somehow. So anyway, I went for the blood test, we did the blood test, and I left. After a few days, I got a call from the health center where I did all these tests. The lady on the other side of the phone, I think it was a nurse or a midwife, I don't know which of them, she asked me, first of all, hi Dora, are you all right? I said, fine, I'm okay. She said, can we talk? Are you somewhere you can talk? I said, yeah, I'm okay. And then she said, well, there's something I want to talk to you about. It's about the tests you did, about the scan, and about the blood test we carried out on you. Immediately she said that, my heart skipped, because something in me told me something was wrong. She said, well, that the blood test that was done on me was to find out if there was anything related to Down syndrome and Edwards and Patel. And I was like, Down syndrome? How? Where is this coming from? And she said that, well, they checked for Down syndrome and it was negative, which means that my child was free of that aspect. But that the test came out with some bits, or rather some aspect of it having, like, I was kind of high risk of having Edwards and Patel. And I asked her, what the hell is Edwards and Patel? Because I've never heard that before. So she was trying to explain to me that Edwards and Patel was a rare genetic kind of disorder, whatever, that had to do with some babies in the wombs, and in most cases, some children, some babies do not make it out alive, and that even if they do, they stand the chance, or rather they stand the risk of giving up on time, like, of dying, of passing away. Immediately she said this, it was as if my world shook for a moment. I just felt like, what am I hearing? Where is all this coming from? I don't know. As at that point, I was confused. So because she was talking and talking and I wasn't responding because I was already far gone. My mind was somewhere else. I was just thinking. I was confused. I was blank for a while. I was speechless. And she didn't hear me speak again. So she kept saying, Dora, are you there? Are you there? And that was when I came back, like I kind of snapped out of where I was. And I said, yes. And she was explaining to me and she said, I understand how you feel. I understand it's not a very good news. I would like you to read more about it. That's research more about the Edwards and Patel thing, because I have really never heard about that before. Never. Yeah, Down syndrome I have heard severally, but that Edwards and Patel thing, in fact, if you have the chance, also just research it, look it up online and know exactly what this thing is all about. So I was like, okay, no problem, I'm going to read about it. And she said to me, this is the result of the test we did, but we would like to conduct another test in a few days. Let's see exactly what's going to happen. If you want to go ahead with the test, you let us know, and if you don't want to go ahead with it, you let us know. But that she would like me to come to the hospital where someone was going to talk to me about it, because everything was on phone. And at that point I was even telling her that, listen, I'm not even paying attention again because my mind was far gone. So she said, okay, if you would like to come to the hospital, come to the hospital. We'll have someone to talk you through the whole process. And I said, okay, that's better. So when she dropped the phone, my God, I was shaking. Like I was literally shaking. I mean, this was winter period, but I was sweating in this winter because this news destabilized me. So I was confused. I picked up my phone. I tried to Google what this whole thing was about. And the more research I made, the more it broke me. Like the more I Googled this thing, the more it confused me. The more I was devastated. Like everything I was reading about it, there was nothing good about it. There was no good news. There was no hope about it. Like I never read, or rather I never Googled anything about it that said, oh, but there is hope, or something can still happen, or something good can come out of it. It was all negativity. So I was like, God, why me? How did I get, like, what kind of news is this? I've had kids before. I never had issues like this. So anyway, the appointment date came. I went to the hospital. On getting to the hospital, there were already 2 nurses there waiting to, break the news further to me, and to break my heart more, even though my heart was already shattered from the first one I had. And they were trying to console me and tell me, this is the result of it. So I asked them, what is responsible for this Edwards and Patel? And I remember she said that one of the reasons is age. So she tried explaining to me that most women that are at risk of having children in this category are parents, or rather are mothers that are, like as you get older, the risk increases. The chances of you having giving birth to such a child increases. So she also explained to me that most of these babies, a lot of them die, when they are in the womb, that's stillbirth, or some of them, even when they make it to come into the world, they don't last before they pass away. And that some of them too still have this, they have a whole risk of having learning disabilities. She said they saw that there are issues, loads of issues. There was nothing to give you hope at all concerning that particular situation. So she tried to encourage me and said that, you know what, that most cases when you do that test, the blood test, that shows that you are at risk of having the child in such a category, that there's always a second opportunity to have another test. Now what they do is, I just like I had the first one and it brought out that result saying that I have a high chance of getting such a child, that normally they will redo the test after some days. If it still comes out that there is high risk of having the child, then they would advise you on what to do. Maybe to, give up the child, like terminate the pregnancy at that early stage, so that you don't go ahead to have a child that is going to be a problem for the rest of your life, or something like that. But if you still want to have the child, they're not forcing you to do that. If you still want the child, and if you are prepared for whatever it is that is going to happen in future, if you're prepared to carry your cross, that is fine. So she said she asked me if I wanted to do another test. I said yes. So they took my blood sample again, and that was it. And this time around, I had to go home and wait. And this period of waiting was not funny, because this period fell in during the weekend. I did the test on a Friday, so I had Saturday, Sunday to wait for the news. And this Saturday, Sunday, this weekend, oh my God, they were the longest. This was the longest weekend in my life. Like, I have never seen a Saturday and Sunday that was this long. I kept waiting and waiting for it to pass away, so that Monday will come and maybe they will call me, or I call them and ask them what is the result of the test. So on Tuesday, I got the call from the hospital.